Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 13. The chapter is called Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. Pumsa mato vivita karma vir advaradhyay. Dhanena chokra tapasa paricharya yayacha. Aradhanam bhagavatas tava satkriya harto. Dharmo ripita karyachid mriyate nayatra. Pumsam of the people, ataha, therefore, vivita karmavi, by various fruitive activities, advara adhyay, by performance of Vedic rituals, dhanena, by charities, cha, and ugra, very hard, tapasa, austerity, paricharyaya, by transcendental service, cha, also, aratha, none, worship, bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead, tava, yo, sat kriya artaha, simply for pleasing your Lordship, dharmaha, religion, arpitaha, so offered, karhichit, at any time, mriyate, vanishes, na, never, yatra, there. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. But the pious activities of the people, such as performance of Vedic rituals, charity, austerity, austere penances, and transcendental service, performed with a view to worship you and satisfy you by offering you the fruitive results, are also beneficial. Such acts of religion never go in vain. Please repeat. But the pious activities of the people, such as performance of Vedic rituals, charity, austere penances, and transcendental service, performed with a view to worship you and satisfy you by offering you the fruitive results, are also beneficial. Such acts of religion never go in vain. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Absolute devotional service conducted in 9 different spiritual activities: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, praying, etc., does not always appeal to people with a pompous nature. They are more attracted by the Vedic superficial rituals and other costly performances of social religious shows. But the process, according to the Vedic injunction, is that the fruits of all pious activities should be offered to the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 9:27, the Lord demands that whatever one may do in one's daily activities, such as worship, sacrifice and offering, charity, all the results should be offered to Him only. This offering of the results of pious acts unto the Supreme Lord is a sign of devotional service to the Lord and is of permanent value, whereas enjoying the same results for oneself is only temporary. Anything done on account of the Lord is a permanent asset and accumulates in the form of unseen piety for gradual promotion to the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. These undetected pious activities will one day result in full-fledged devotional service by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, any pious act done on account of the Supreme Lord is also recommended here for those who are not pure devotees. I read the verse again. But the pious activities of the people, such as performance of Vedic rituals, charity, austere penances, and transcendental service, performed with a view to worship you and satisfy you by offering you the fruitive results, are also beneficial. Such acts of religion never go in vain. Thank you. So this, we continue in the chapter. Brahma, Lord Brahma, his creative energies and his realizations, explaining the different levels of devotional service and one's preparedness to accept Krishna as the ultimate supreme enjoyer, the ultimate receiver of all sacrifices. He is the supreme Mahapurusha. He is the best friend of all living entities, and he is the supreme proprietor. He is the supreme proprietor. Everything belongs to him. Everything should be offered to him. Therefore, the living entities are meant to offer sacrifices according to their capacity or their preparedness. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also, it's a famous verse, Yat karoshi yat ashnasi, yat juhosi tadashi yat tapasyasi, kaunteya tat kurusya mad arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So this is, Srila Prabhupada also mentions this verse, 9:27 in Bhagavad Gita, encouraging all the jivas, Krishna himself, that never mind whatever capacity, wherever you at in your realizations, offer your work, the results of your work, for his satisfaction. So Krishna encourages. And Lord Brahma is realizing and is having an internal dialogue with the Supreme Lord Chaitya Guru. And Krishna himself, within his heart, encourages him. To offer the fruitive results. This is a very simple but also very deep concept here, because living entities are so bewildered by their own self-interest. They don't realize that actually there's a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He is entitled to receive all the worship. He is the supreme enjoyer. Even Srila Prabhupada often says these 3 points, very, very important to understand, that Krishna is the best friend of all living entities. If you just meditate on these 3 points here, Krishna is the best friend of all living entities. He is not just the Supreme Lord for the sake of being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but He's also our well-wisher. He's our seed-giving Father. His love is very pure. And we all belong, we have an eternal, loving relationship with Him. It is just a question of time, question of realizing that, yes, there's nothing else exists except that humble devotion service to His lotus feet. Not everyone can realize that. But there are some sentiments there for the Vedas recommending that one should offer whatever capacity, whatever you can do, according to your varna, whether you're Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, whatever ashram you are in, offer whatever you can do, whatever you can offer to the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is an act of devotion. Although one may not be pure, although one may be attached to so many things, because even the demigods themselves are not completely pure devotees, except a few. They still have material attachments. Obviously, they're very great devotees, but they may not be 100% pure in their intentions. So, a pure devotee of Krishna, he has no attachment to this material world. They are actually very devoted. They're giving their whole life, pure, unalloyed devotion. That kind of devotee is very rare. Very rare. Even Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that out of thousands, one may come to Him, but out of those, only one may understand Him in truth, in complete truth. No one can just understand Krishna as He is without actually being a humble, pure devotee, fully surrendered to Him. But He's ready to give Himself according to His, if He's very pleased with us, He's responding, He's reciprocating with us. But a pure devotee, he takes up the spirit of devotion, he wants to please the Supreme Lord, he takes up the missionary activities, he spreads Krishna consciousness, they have no material attachments, but ordinarily one may offer certain sacrifices, and the purport Srila Prabhupada also explains that the Lord demands that whatever one may do in one's daily activities, such as worship, sacrifice, and offering charity, all the results should be offered to Him only. Anything done on account of the Lord is a permanent asset and accumulates in the form of unseen piety for gradual promotion to the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. The pure devotees called Nishkama devotees. And Sri Prahlad Maharaj, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's also a very famous verse, 7th canto, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnuhu Smaranam Padam Sevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atmanivedanam, Iti Pumshapita Vishnu, Bhaktis Chennava Lakshana, Kriyeta Bhagavati Artha, Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. The translation. So this is the process to actually come to the level and realization of pure devotional service. The importance, the inspiration, the strength, conviction, and the determination. This verse explains the actual process. How we come to that point of realization that we can just give our love, our whole life, our heart, our feelings, devotion to the pleasure of Lord Shri Krishna. So, Prahlad Maharaj, in his prayers, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with body, mind and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. A very, very important verse, because Prahlad Maharaj gives the method, the formula, that these 9 limbs, very important aspects of devotional service, help us and encourages us. If we, for example, Shravanam Kirtanam, constant hearing and chanting about the pastimes of the Lord, we feel attraction to Krishna. Gradually we feel those loving emotions. Then we remember in his pastimes, in the association of devotees, just like we visit the holy places, Mayapur, Sri Mayapur Dham, Sri Jagannath Puri Dham, Sri Vrindavan Dham, visit all these beautiful places, and we're remembering his beautiful pastimes in the association of Vaishnavas. So this is a very powerful, purifying formula which leads us to application. We want to serve Krishna, Pada Sevanam. We serve his devotees. We worship his form, deity form, Archa Vigraha. Atmanivedanam, complete surrender, self-surrender. So of course, this cannot be imitated. We have to gradually raise our consciousness, purify our heart by the recommended process called this, what Sri Prahlad Maharaj mentions. There are much more to it, of course, but this is the outline, how we can actually develop pure devotion service. Nevertheless, Krishna is very kind to all living entities. Therefore, he says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you do, just offer it to me as a sacrifice. There are many, many different kinds of people who may not be ready for, and they're not ready for pure devotion service. So they are encouraged by the Lord that whatever you do, offer it to me as a sacrifice. Generally, people are attracted to promptus, very, very opulent or ritualistic performances, not necessarily considered pure devotion service. But nevertheless, if they offer the fruits to the Supreme Lord, they'll be accepted and never go in vain, as Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. These undetected pious activities will one day result in full-fledged devotional service by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, any pious act done on account of the Supreme Lord is also recommended here for those who are not pure devotees. Anything done on account for the Lord is a permanent asset and accumulates in a form of unseen piety for gradual promotion to the unalloyed devotion service of the Lord. These passages are very important because if we are not ready for pure devotion service, then we may feel discouraged. We may feel that we're not so qualified. What is our hope? What is our how can we reach that platform? But Krishna encourages all living entities that never mind, just whatever you do, offer it to me, and then those pious acts will be accumulated and gradually come to the point of devotion, proper scientific application, when we actually simply ready to give ourselves to Krishna. It's not that easy because we are very conditioned souls. We have been in this material world for many, many lifetimes, countless lifetimes. So we accumulated many anarthas, unwanted desires. We have so many material desires, we may not even realize it. And so we have to actually have a conscious purification. And therefore Prahlad Maharaj says that we have to go through these. We have to apply these 9 limbs of devotional service, 9 aspects, constantly hearing about the Lord, chanting His holy names, and then we feel that there is actually a loving connection with us, with Krishna, the Supreme. Otherwise, we may get confused. That is why the Shastras, the scriptures, the Vedic knowledge, the great teachers, not to speak of the Mahajanas, they're encouraging all living entities to apply the process of devotional service. On the other hand, there's an urgency. A sincere devotee, he cannot wait anymore. Because to come to this point took us many, many lifetimes, just to come to this point of chanting the holy names of Krishna regularly in the association of devotees, engaging in devotional service. This is not an ordinary thing. We may not realize it so consciously, but Krishna knows everything. He knows the past, present, and future. So we had accumulated some piety, punyas. Somehow or other we received the mercy of the holy names of Krishna. And here we are in the association of Vaishnavas, devotees. And so now we have this opportunity. How can we let it go? We have to take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Not to be complacent. Srila Prabhupada always not only encourages but reminds the devotees, human form of life is very rare, very special. Somehow we have this opportunity to elevate our Krishna consciousness and become real devotees, unalloyed devotees. So if we are sincere, provided if we are sincere, then we take shelter of Krishna consciousness very seriously, under the guidance of our spiritual masters. The spiritual master is an accomplished devotee. He's not only encourages us, but he's training us to understand Krishna as he is, who Krishna is. It's a mystery even for the devas or demigods, because God cannot be understood with a measuring stick of our intellect. See, just like we're trying to rationalize who Krishna is, we cannot. We have to receive the mercy of the Lord, and by His mercy we have revelation within our heart. He is the supreme enjoyer, supreme friend. So there's a very basic concept here, but very, very, very deep. That's why Brahmaji is explaining this gradually in the Brahma Samhita. How we can actually get up there in this very exalted, transcendental position of loving Lord Krishna. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Lord, Govinda. So, the whole spiritual realm, Vaikuntha Dham, Goloka Vrindavan, is exhibited in the Brahma Samhita, in the pages and the verses. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discovered the verses of Brahma Samhita. And he encouraged us to study. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj gave a very nice commentary, very eloquent commentary on the teachings of Brahma Samhita. This was the topmost realization of Brahmaji. His creative energies, he was empowered to create this material universe here under the order of the Supreme Param Ishwar, the Supreme Controller. But he went further. He wanted to know the cause of all causes. And that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he had this revelation within his heart. Because Krishna, the of Godhead, in the form of Parama Atma, also Chaitya Guru, the original Guru, within our heart, is willing to reveal himself if we actually have a very favorable, loving devotional service. Real knowledge, transcendental knowledge, the feeling of conviction will be revealed if we have the right mindset, attitude, and desire. If we are very sincere and surrendering to Krishna with our hearts, with our intellect, with our intelligence, then He'll help us. Krishna helps those who help themselves. He will reveal Himself, but we have to make that application. Reading the books, very important, because give us inspiration, knowledge, but we have to act on those instructions. Spiritual life is not automatic just like that. We have to actually make an effort. We have to make an effort. We have to study these books. We have to humbly serve the Vaishnavas. We have a whole society of Vaishnavas. There's always some service to do for Krishna. And by that humble service, we have realizations on a day-to-day basis. So Srila Prabhupada encouraged the devotees not to miss this opportunity. This is a very rare opportunity. Human form of life is affording the opportunity. Somehow we have this form, not to waste it. So we have to use our best capacity and intelligence to try to comprehend, realize what Krishna means here, what Brahmaji means here in these purports. Because we have the opportunity to possess pure devotional service provided if we are very, very eager to have it. Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, he says one should be very eager to have the devotional service to Krishna. One should be very eager to please Krishna. One should be very eager to realize Krishna. Because if we're not, we can be the most unfortunate. We are very fortunate, but if we neglect it or don't care to understand it properly, then we're very unfortunate also. Krishna is the ultimate treasure, the ultimate wealth, everything to us. So if we just neglect Krishna, then we're missing the point, we're missing the opportunity. So therefore, every day we should remind ourselves in a simple way. Philosophy of Krishna consciousness, although very extensive and very deep, but also very simple. And by hearing from the spiritual master, hearing and attending Srimad Bhagavatam classes, eventually, gradually, all material desires become zero. We just want to focus on Krishna, how to please Krishna, how to love Krishna. And this is when life becomes fully satisfying. Everything becomes meaningful. When we love Krishna, everything becomes meaningful. There's no reason to be depressed about anything. No reason to be lamenting about anything. When we love Krishna, there's nothing more to attain. That's how you can see who's really an advanced devotee. An advanced devotee is fully satisfied with Krishna. Is fully satisfied. Is not hankering, no lamenting. Is completely content. Nothing more to attain. What else to attain? If you have Krishna, His love, you have everything. When you have Krishna's love in your heart and you're realizing that, you have nothing more to attain. You're completely satisfied. I know it's a very incredible statements here, but this is what Srila Prabhupada is teaching us. Just surrender to Krishna, and you'll be very happy and satisfied in every way. But if you cannot, if you're not so pure, then whatever you do, offer it to Krishna, whatever capacity you have. Never mind. Pleasing Krishna is always glorious and always meaningful. And Krishna can be pleased with any effort as long as we offer it to Him with love. So even just simple services. We don't have to lament that we can only have this much capacity, that capacity. Doesn't matter, as long as you offer it to Krishna. And then your life will be sublime, peaceful. You have a meaningful future. And the result will be very sublime. You'll be very happy in this life. You'll be very peaceful and inspired, not to speak of ecstatic, but you also have a very beautiful future, because this life, this human form of life, this human body is temporary, transitory. But if you devote our life to Krishna, then Krishna will take us back home. As Brahmaji is contemplating, Chintamani Prakarasadma Shukalpa Viksha, go to the Goloka Vrindavan, even bypassing the Vaikuntha planets. The countless Lakshmijis, Kalpa Vriksha trees, desire-fulfilling trees, cows, beautiful pastimes of Krishna, sweetness, love. Everything is so sweet. These verses are very inspiring for a devotee who actually wants to reach Krishna. So this should be our ultimate contemplation, to get to Goloka Vrindavan. And that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gifted us. He brought the Vrajamanda Bhumi in his teachings, the Bhagavad Dharma, the great preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam. Here we are, we study the words, and teachings of Vyasadeva, beautifully rendered by Srila Prabhupada. So we can actually get the inspiration. So this way we have a very clear path. It is not complicated. A devotee who is engaged in devotion service, for him Krishna consciousness is very simple. But someone who is not so devoted, for him Krishna consciousness appears to be very complicated. It is complicated for the complicated. It is simple for the simple. So if you just simply love Krishna and the devotees, if you just understand these simple statements here, then we have no issue, we have no problem. Our life will be very successful. And that's one of the reasons we are attracted to Krishna consciousness right in the beginning, because Krishna is very, very attractive. The whole philosophy is very attractive. And there's a purity and simplicity in this. Attracts everyone's mind. We can actually be happy. We get a hope that actually can become happy in this life. Because in the material world, living entities searching, anandamaya, pleasure-seeking, searching for happiness, but they can never really find real happiness, permanent happiness. There's no real happiness in the material world. Only by having the opportunity and devotional service to Krishna, and then we can feel the happiness, contentment and satisfaction of Krishna consciousness. And this is the real true purpose of a devotee, to be satisfied with Krishna. And then return home, back to Godhead. So the Srimad Bhagavatam gradually, step by step, chapter by chapter, leading and raising our consciousness and awareness that there is such a destination. There is such a destination that there's no more suffering, no more birth, disease, old age and death. There's only pure, unalloyed devotion, happiness. Therefore the Brahma Samhita is a very, very exalted topic, which culminates in our love and devotion to Krishna. So we should all study Brahma Samhita, especially in the association of devotees, because we understand them better. It's difficult to fully understand it just like that without having a preliminary study of Bhagavad Gita, for example, because the Brahma Samhita takes us to a very high plane of Krishna consciousness. Explains Goloka Vrindavan, who Krishna is, and the ultimate supreme personality of Godhead, the original form of Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan. So, but we should know that there is such a place. Therefore, we should read these verses, even just for the sake of purification. Sometimes there are courses on Brahma Samhita also in Mayapur or Vrindavan, I'm sure, where we can actually have a bit more insight and realization when we are together, questions and answers, because Brahma Samhita is actually a very exalted topic. It's basically around the 10th canto, but Brahmaji's realization, his revelations, because he bypassed the creative energy already. He is a supreme engineer under the guidance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when he came to the point that there's much more to this material creation, Goloka Vrindavan, then he expressed his beautiful prayers called Brahma Samhita. So, and as we read on the chapter here, we have actually, we can feel these emotions and feel these Brahmaji's realizations. We may not fully realize it, of course, but then we actually appreciate his realizations and we take inspiration. Yes, there's a sublime goal here. We can actually return back home, back to our original home, being with Krishna, the supreme lovable friend, He is the most loving friend ever. When we have this conviction, our life is successful right on the spot. So Krishna is the most loving friend, the supreme enjoyer, and the supreme proprietor. So let's work on this and meditate on this. The very idyllic words, we may not be there, but we should take inspiration and return back home, back to Godhead. So every day we're reminding ourselves about these things. That's the purpose of Bhagavatam reading, by the way. So not only understand the science of Krishna consciousness, but that also to get there. We want to be there with Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. Is there any comments or questions? Quickly. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Vyasadeva. All glories to the devotees. Hare Krishna.